Thanks, Ann. I have one. She wants you to talk tonight. She wants you to be heard.
I know,
Good evening, welcome. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, both done by Mr. Caudell. So if you'd please stand, thank you.
Thank you. Please bow your heads and join us in a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for being with us tonight. Please be with us as we guide the county and move the county forward and do the greater good, not for the individual, but for all the people. Thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, again, thank you for coming tonight, and we'll start off with the roll call.
Frankel.
Here.
Caudell.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Lenning.
Here.
McWhirter.
Here.
Scott.
Here. All right, thank you. Next, we have the auditor's report.
If you have any questions about your reports.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First item of new business, Grant County Area Plan. Todd, Glancey.
Good evening, and thanks for the time to be on the agenda. So did everyone receive the outline in the graph? Okay. So the purpose of this proposal is to improve the salary alignment within the Grant County Area Plan Commission office while maintaining a fiscal responsibility and avoiding any increase to the department's overall budget. A review of the comparable Indiana Planning and Building Department salary ranges shows that several operational positions within the Grant County APC office are below typical ranges. In particular, the building inspector, code enforcement officer, and permit clerk are currently below the market levels typically seen in similar Indiana counties. But that's not really the point. It's about adjustment. At the same time, the current APC budget includes a part-time position with an annual allocation of $22,422. Staff and the full APC Commission, which voted on this issue, has evaluated the operational needs and determined that this position is not necessary for the current workload and structure of the office. So the proposal, therefore, recommends eliminating the part-time position and reallocating a portion of those funds to improve salary alignment for operational staff positions. So the source of the funds is the elimination of the part-time position, so half of that would be $11,211. The other half goes back to the county. Administrative assistant salary reset, so we're going to lower that salary by $1,929. So the total available for redistribution is $13,140. The combined total of $1,140 is then redistributed to the operational positions as follows. The building inspector would increase by $4,000. The code enforcement officer position by $5,900. The administrative assistant would be reduced by $1,929. And the permit clerk position would be increased by $3,240. That resulting salary structure with the adjustments restores a more appropriate internal hierarchy within the department. The adjustment also moves the operational and technical positions closer to the typical salary ranges for similar positions across Indiana planning and building departments. So the fiscal impact of this proposal does not increase the APC budget. The elimination of the part-time position allows the department to return a portion of the funding to the county and use the remaining funds to improve salary alignments for existing staff positions. Do you have any questions?
I've got one, and it could be apples and oranges. And it might be because my sister saw 3 code enforcement officers today at lunch for the city of Marion. And so then I wonder, is this apples and oranges to say, or to ask, how much do they get paid versus how much this position gets paid?
I looked at, put the bar graphs in from a statewide viewpoint, and I was looking more at the hierarchy. The point was not to get us into the middle of the bars, but the administrative assistant was much higher paid than the code enforcement and the inspector. We wanted to readjust that. There should be the inspector, code enforcement, and then an administrative assistant.
But you don't know how much Marion paid their
I
code enforcement?
did not look into that specifically.
Are all these positions currently filled?
Yes, they are all currently filled at this point.
How does this make our office more efficient?
We're gaining efficiency, and the result of that efficiency is that the staff is working really well as a team, and that as a team and as the APC commission, we do not feel like we need a part-time permit clerk.
Wasn't
Now,
it 2 months ago you asked for a part-time clerk?
I asked for the permit clerk, and I also asked for that part-time permit clerk position. Yes, I did. And at that time, we didn't have things running as we do now. So for an example, with the storm damage that we've had this spring, we're running 10x the number of roof permits, just in roofing permits, that we had last year in May. We're keeping up.
So someone comes in and gets a roof permit, how does that affect the septic system?
Septic system.
Yeah, I've had several complaints from people that they got permits or tried to get a permit, and we sent people out to inspect their septic system.
So when you do a building, it doesn't affect
I know,
roofing.
I just wondered what the reasoning was.
Right. So when we're actually doing building, that's one department. We go to the health department to make sure that we're not building over top of a septic system or disrupting that.
Okay, so how does the communication work from the health department back to get the permit completed?
So we send them to the health department, they send that, and they get a letter from the health department and the surveyor's department, so we're not close or on top of a regulated ditch.
So do you know
And
the
those things-
timeline?
Pardon?
Do you know the timeline? Every time they would get those things and get it back to you, get the permit?
If everybody's in their office and so on, that's a same day. Could be a same day.
Have you got people that are experiencing something different?
Yeah, I had somebody over Fairmount area that had waited 2 weeks. So I made a couple calls and I just was curious as to what the reasoning was.
Yeah, contact me and we can take that offline and see what the issue is and resolve it.
But that would be interesting, though, if it's a permit for a roof, like a replacement, and you still got to go to the health department?
Well, they added on to a building.
Okay, they added on.
And that was what he's saying, is they checked to see where the building would be done versus where the septic system was.
Yep.
But I just think that 2 weeks is a little much. I guess I'm thinking we should be able to do that a little quicker in today's world.
Absolutely, I agree.
From a concept, we've had other offices where we've done some restructuring of salaries by eliminating positions and so forth. So the concept I'm not opposed to, just kind of want to make sure, kind of what was alluded to with Mr. Fleming's question, eliminating the part-time position, you don't see that as being a temporary elimination. You're thinking that's
permanent.
not needed. When you do the 26 or 27 budget, it's not going to be there.
No.
Okay. The other piece I want to ask to make sure we're clear on, you were asking for I'm assuming, annual adjustments to those positions' salaries.
Yes.
So they won't get that full amount the rest of this year. They'll get the prorated share of that for the rest of the year. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I guess another thought, when you have people off on vacation, sick, whatever, not having that part-time person, that's one less person that's going to be available to you in the office. And you've thought about that. That's going to be one less person that can help during, at least be present when you have people out of the office.
Right, so what we're doing is cross-training and developing protocols for all the positions.
But that's one less body in the office that can help. So you feel like even that one less, you'll be able to accommodate those
Yes.
needs as far as having somebody there to take care of things.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
There's a question from the crowd.
So I guess the positive thing is saving the county $11,211 per year with the elimination of the position, and then redistributing the other half of it to the other people who will have to possibly pick up the slack. And also it's a realignment at the same time of the salaries according to what you're seeing statewide to hopefully eliminate or reduce turnover. Okay.
Your administrative assistant, for example, was hired in a specific salary.
Yes.
Now you're cutting it in the middle of the year. Is that,
So we do have a unique situation this year in which we had some turnover of the administrative assistant, and before she accepted that job, I proposed this to her,
okay.
to that specific individual, so this is not a surprise.
Okay.
She was very amenable to it. So it is a very unique situation to be able to lower a salary of a person
In the middle of the year.
in the middle of the year or in the middle of their career. They've been there for 5 years. That's would be really difficult to lower a person's salary if they've been there for years.
Curious how you're going to do that.
If you can do that, then we're going to have you do some negotiations.
I'm negotiating, yeah.
This is true. I don't know if any of the members have any more questions. Entertain a motion.
I do want to make that motion, Mr. President, as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brinkle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scott. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions from the council? Do we have any questions from the public regarding this? Yes.
Effective date, can we do the effective date as of payroll 6/5?
Yeah,
That's
we
the
can,
next pay date.
yeah, we want to roll at it. Whatever's convenient for you.
Great question. All right. So we'll make this change effective 6/5/2026. Seeing no one from the public, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, Grant County EMS, Dawn Harness.
Good evening. Here again to ask for a transfer for overtime. The funds I'm transferring from are going to be left over in the billing account. I had 2 off on maternity leave the first of the year, so there's a surplus in there. And then what's left over in the medical director's fund, we transfer most of that over to contractual services. He sends an invoice, he doesn't get paid by payroll.
Don, just looking ahead a little bit, do you see any adjustments we need to make for the 2027 budget for overtime? Or do you think it's just unique because
This
of
is
what happened?
unique this year right now because in April, as of the 18th, we had 28 shifts. Those are 12-hour shifts that needed to be covered by the supervisors that people called off. They were sick or they got called from their regular job or whatever. A 12-hour shift for supervisor puts them into overtime automatically, an extra one. A 12-hour shift costs the county $372, an extra $372, just that extra shift. 13 of those shifts were covered in April. That's why April was so bad. But we lost some people. We lost some people that took full-time positions at the hospital in Miami County. And then one of the guys was hurt. He wasn't hurt with us, but he was hurt, and he had to drop a lot of shifts. I do have 4 new employees to try to replace some of that. 2 of them are already done in training, so they've been turned loose. The other 2 will still have to be trained, but I hope that will help alleviate that problem.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council? Not the chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cudell.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any other questions or comments from the council? Anything from the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have Grant County Central Dispatch. Mr. Hicks. Are you driving with a travel trailer?
I am. Just get new tires in the morning.
Oh, okay.
I don't need roadside assistance. I'm here to ask for an additional appropriation into the salary line item, account number 4922, to hire 2 additional 911 dispatchers to begin effective with payroll number 14. Currently, we have 18. That gives us 2 rotations with 5 and 2 rotations with 4. The goal is to get 5 dispatchers on each rotation. We can then raise our minimum staffing from 3 to 4, ensuring ample staff coverage at all times in the center. Yesterday at 4:45, when the severe storms went through, there were 4 dispatchers working. 1 dispatcher was doing the county law, 1 was doing Marion PD, 1 was doing county fire EMS with Marion Fire, and 1 was acting as a call taker. We were also dealing with an incident in Stonecrest at the same time that was going through. That was very taxing on the dispatchers, both physically and mentally. They were having to deal with lines down, trees down. The incidents in Stonecrest, that was a police, fire, EMS response. And adding this extra personnel would greatly alleviate the stress and the workload on those individuals. We have a policy in place to where only 1 dispatcher can be off at a time for vacation. So if there are 4 on the shift, that drops us to 3. And then if, somebody calls off, then we are forced to find coverage for that. Whereas if we have the extra coverage, that would help alleviate some of that as well.
Do you have any open positions right now?
I am fully staffed.
How long have you been fully staffed?
About 4 months.
I could be reading in between the lines here, Mr. Hicks, but you're fully staffed based on our budgeting numbers.
Based on 18.
But you're asking,
I'm asking for 2
you're
more.
purposing in the future, you would like to get
2 more to bring my staff from 18 to 20.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Just make a note of it.
No, wait a minute, say that again?
He's got 18 people. That's what our budget shows, 18 people.
Yeah.
He's technically asking in the future for 2 additional, so he would have 20.
You're not asking for 2 right away?
No, effective payroll 14. I would like to add 2 more staff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is, he requested this in the budget during last year. We did not grant that request.
I've actually requested it the 2 years prior as well.
okay.
So that was actually my email back to Mr. Hicks, was that it was more appropriate to do this request at budget time.
We agree. Unless it's an emergency or something.
All right. That's why I asked about being fully staffed, because I know the last time he wasn't actually fully staffed. And I don't know, out of the last 60 months, how many times have you actually been fully staffed, or how many months? Maybe.
This is the longest streak that we've had.
Yeah.
we have worked very diligently to hire quality staff members. We didn't just willy-nilly hire off the street. I mean, we have a very rigorous interview process. We bring them into the center. They sit for 4 hours. They observe what goes on in the center, and then we evaluate all of the observations. We ask them what they thought is, and that has worked very well for us. It's taken us 5 years to get where we are. When I took over August of 21, we were at 50% staffing. And that was smack dab in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
But you have 2 people identified that or you do not.
I have received 4 applications today from HR, so we are still actively receiving those applications. The posting is still up. And again, waiting till July would be half of a year's salary for this year, and then I would budget for the 20 next year.
Do we have any updated numbers of what our lost revenue is going to be for 2027? Is it still the 3.5 as far as we know?
Yeah, I have not received anything to update that information. I will say that with the new veterans deduction changes, it'll probably see some more reduction in property tax. Plus this bill for area plan, those fees, that's a $65,000 possible miscellaneous revenue loss.
So that loss might be greater than.
It just depends on what they collect in fees.
Yeah, just a side note too, I was watching the 3rd video that the AIC put out regarding the lead changes and so forth. They've got that portal that they'll show calculations. It takes this rate to, I'll say, recoup what you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. They don't talk about the loss in property tax revenue in that exercise. It's just income tax.
Right.
So we need to keep that in mind as well. If you're looking at that video, don't consider that the whole picture. There's property tax loss that you have to be able to replace with your income tax piece. So keep that in mind.
Another piece of the puzzle to consider is my staff are required to perform emergency medical dispatch. So if a family member of yours calls in and needs CPR instructions, that takes a person off the radio, if I have 3, for about 3.5, 4 minutes until the fire department, the ambulance, or the law enforcement get there and take over CPR. Now we're dealing with 2 dispatchers working Grant County, 419 square miles. There's just a lot of variables that go on in the center, and I really, truly need the staff. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. This isn't a luxury.
I know I struggle with it to possibly improve people that then we're going to look at. I mean, if we have to make cuts to save money, our number one cut is going to be personnel. And so then you're going to get rid of people that you just hired. And I don't know, for me sitting here, I'm not going to pick department by department. It's probably going to be more like across the boards, the easier way to do it. Just say, bring me 10%, 20%, whatever the number is, because we got to save this. So it's not fair to those people, in my mind.
It's also not fair to the citizens either, who rely on the services that we offer.
And we're fully staffed for the past 4 months, which has been full staff. And I congratulate you starting with a 50% staff in 2021. I mean, that's great. That's great. And I can certainly understand the possibility of burnout and things like that, because it's got to be a high stress job. There's no doubt about it.
Very much so.
People's lives are on the line.
Yesterday was a very rough day for my center.
This is a tough one because I believe we should support public safety. I think that's imperative that we do that. And I know you've asked for 20 dispatchers in the past, right? You were not granted that.
Correct.
we've never done your job. They don't ever want to do your job. So I understand the stress. I can imagine.
Mr. Hicks, do we have any part-timers still?
We have 4 part-timers.
And they do fill in?
They do fill in. But again, we don't schedule their part-time hours because 3 of them have other full-time jobs. So they work for me around their schedule.
That's not an easy spot to be in, and Mr. Branco, you're right. You want to prioritize certain services, and knowing that if we grant this request of $73,687, that's potentially another $73,687 we'll have to find somewhere else. And probably it's going to be our responsibility to prioritize what we're going to support, and what we may have to cut. I think that the reality is, and I think we've avoided that conversation a little bit, is what's in front of us. And I think we need to be prepared for that reality. I sat in a very difficult spot almost 24 years ago, my first budget hearings, and had to eliminate 43 positions. Then it is not a fun job. But we're tasked with that. That's why we were voted in. That's why we were here, and we will make those decisions. But the fewer we have to cut, the better.
Is there any other way of adding a part-time person or something to help with the burnout, the stress, the scheduling?
We could, but then, again, you're still going to have to find somebody who doesn't have a full-time job, who's willing to be scheduled to come in and do that kind of stuff. To me, I would rather have the full-time staff, because you never know. You never know when something's going to hit. Who would have thought we'd have a 15-car pileup? Who would have thought we'd had an incident stone crash yesterday? You never know. Who would have thrown a severe thunderstorm on top of all of that?
This request, though, would be for half the year at $73,687.
Correct.
So it's really $150,000.
No, sir.
Okay.
Payroll 14 is the first half, is the first payroll in Q3. So it would be 2 positions out of 1 year's salary. So each person would get half of that 73,000.
Yeah, that 45 represents 1 current position. So if it's half year, that's 2 half years. Yes.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is for
next
budget year.
Yeah,
For next
That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm looking at 2027, it's 146, almost 150 then.
Correct.
Okay. Think about that.
Looking at this chart too, it shows
My concern.
I know. Looking at this chart, shows overtime, part-time, we had an appropriation of $277,720 in year 26. You've used $200,000 of that already, it looks like. So you are using a part-time staff.
I am.
Okay. It made it sound like you had a hard time getting them in, but they are in.
They're in. But it's at their convenience, not necessarily
But
mine.
we've used well over half of that, not even halfway through the year yet.
But my dispatchers, also their schedule, they are scheduled some weeks 48 hours a week.
How much do you feel like the overtime budget would come down if you were allowed to have 2 more full-time positions? I mean, is it going to offset the cost of a new position?
I don't think it would, no, honestly.
Based on what's being used so far, I'd say no.
Yeah, but he's asking for 2 more full-timers, which should theoretically bring down your.
But my part-timers are also paid out of that line item.
Yeah, it's overtime and part-time combined. That number.
So my overtime, my part-time employees just get the $21.99 an hour.
Right.
And then my full-timers get whatever plus their rate plus longevity.
feel like maybe from the beginning of Central Dispatch, we were maybe undersold a little bit on the need for staff over there. Is that likely?
Depends who you ask. But yeah, here's the thought. I hate to come too negative, I guess. You know, we've had this in place for several years, and it hasn't been fully staffed very often.
Right.
And I'm sympathetic with his request, but the conditions haven't changed as far as I'm concerned. You know, we've been able to operate for several years with that current staffing number. Why are we looking to increase it now? And that's my mentality. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, but that's where I'm coming from at this point. I mean, obviously, they'd love to have more people over there, I'm sure, but is that really something we should be doing at this point?
What is your burn rate, turnover rate of employees?
Low. Like I said, our hiring process is very rigorous. We have thoroughly vet our applicants. And then the ones we do hire have stayed. I mean, we've got one that's got 35 years in. We've got another one that's almost to 30. And then I know there's several over there that have got 20 plus in.
Has your workload increased? You feel like?
Yeah, I believe it has, yes, absolutely. The calls for service have gone up.
Can you quantify that? I mean, call logs or whatever?
Absolutely.
Year to year? I'd
Absolutely.
be interested to see that.
Seems like they're out on 69 about every day.
And you never know when you're going to wind
It's
up on
one-way
60.
traffic, one way going down by my house. And with the storms and the dust storm here the other day when I was planting, I couldn't see the ground in front of the tractor. Good thing for auto steer.
I guess the one thought, you can't staff for the extreme time. Those are just stressful bad times for sure. You got to stress for what is the normal time is that's my thought.
I-69 is normal.
Well, you define normal.
Well, I can't
69,
I'm just saying overall from a perspective. I'm not being specific on an area. I'm just saying what's the normal activity.
That's my thought. Average minutes served on the phone to average employees. That ratio, let us see that picture over the last 5 years. And I think this salary need is somewhat based upon that, because like you said, you can't plan for those spikes or dips, either one, but we can try to keep it average for you at least along that path. So,
And I feel like our definition of being fully staffed is different than yours because you've asked for 2 additional dispatchers in the past, correct?
I have. My goal has always been to have
Yeah, I
20.
think that's the struggle for me is what he sees as being fully staffed is not what we see as being fully staffed.
no, I can imagine.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's an issue, but we're also coming from, we got a lot of unknowns facing us right now and it's a challenge.
Who said 18 as the number?
Mr. Burnworth, the consultant who,
It was based on nothing but just.
I would say it was a committee. You know, the people that were working as a committee back when that was established, including Mr. Burnworth was a consultant that was leading that conversation. That's the number that was established based on input from people on that committee. That would include, officers from, or representatives from Marion, Gas City, Jonesboro, the county. I mean, there are people from all those units involved, and the non-incorporated areas too, possibly, I think.
Can we table this till next month and maybe bring some of that information or send it to us in an email to see those calls, so to speak, so we can see volume maybe?
Yep.
Would that be?
Yep.
I can put that in the form of a motion or whatever you want to do.
We can do it that way if you want to vote to table it. I'll leave that to Mr. Gluckfield. Do we vote to table it or just table it?
Just do it by motion.
Okay.
That would be my motion. To table it, ask Mr. Hicks to bring us some hard numbers and let us review that and see what we think.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lemming. Do we have a second to tabling this?
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caudell. Do we have a motion and a second to table this? Any other questions or comments?
I want to see employees during that period too, so I want to be able to see that ratio between calls and current employees during those timeframes. Monthly would be great, just to kind of see those patterns if we could.
Okay, I'll second those.
Like over the last year, 2 years, what's?
5 if it's easy to get. I mean, I don't want you to have to work for 2 weeks digging data. That's senseless, but yeah.
That's what I'd written down too, when I got the packet. Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever you have readily available, just paint some kind of picture or trend, at least over probably a 2-year period.
Do we know when this agreement expires?
We were just talking about that before the meeting. I can't say for sure. My first thought is it came in place in 19, maybe at the end of 28.
29.
Is it at the beginning or at the end of 29? That was the question that we weren't sure of.
I have to get it out 28 or 29, so I would guess. But
Our go live date was June 8th of 2020.
but we had the agreement in place maybe before that, I'm thinking. Maybe not. It's getting close to the point we're going to start thinking about that with income tax changes and all that stuff that we're going to be facing.
Yeah, because that's another 1.157 that we're going to have to, well, it's actually 657,000 that we're going to have to step up.
It would be surprising if any of the other units of the county are going to chip in.
That's exactly what I'm thinking is probably not going to happen. So, yeah.
It's going to be less.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote or not? Did we vote?
No, I guess Ms. Jarvis was looking something up, but we don't have to wait for her on that. Anything else from the council? If not, anything from the public regarding this? Seeing no one, all in favor of tabling this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Next on the agenda, we have Grant County Commissioners. Mr. Middlesworth on the agenda.
Good evening, gentlemen, Mr. President.
Good evening.
Back in May, we had an elevator go down at the courthouse. At the time, when I made the request, I didn't know exactly how much to ask for, so we made an additional appropriation request in the amount of $1 million to repair building and structure. I included an update request regarding the additional appropriation request. The courthouse elevator brake replacement. Currently, the brakes are, we have found the brakes. They're in France, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it looks like for $41,976.88, we're making that request. Looks like about a 26-week lead time. We've advised our maintenance director that if we could pay extra to get the brakes here. Obviously, that elevator is the only elevator in the courthouse, and so it's priority number one. That puts the county at a huge liability with ADA. We've had meetings with Judge Meeks. We have accommodated in every way we can. We've offered various options with great minds at the table as far as, what have they done in the past, right? And right now I think that the judges aren't requesting anything. They just want the elevator fixed, and we're going to try to, if it costs more money to get the parts here, we'll do that in a reasonable amount of time.
26 weeks. How can it take 26 weeks to get it?
Do you know, is it just sitting on a shelf or they have to be built?
I'd say it's the age.
Yeah, so, obviously when it comes to the elevator at the courthouse, the original installer is no longer in business, and then the original manufacturer is no longer in business. So again, our main instructors worked hard at trying to to get the parts to save the county money when we can.
Just to be clear, the parts aren't there yet. They have to be made, is what he was saying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
makes more
we're gonna continue the process for an RFP for a new replacement. That way, if we do have trouble getting the parts or something happens, we'll be prepared to make that adjustment. So moving on, we're also requesting the Grant County Complex, the fire alarm control panel replacement in the amount of $116,800. The county complex fire alarm panel continues to malfunction. I know the members that have been on the council a while, we've continually had problems with it. Right now, the whole 6th floor, I believe, is not sound or light. And so it's a safety issue as well as a fire issue. And then we're also requesting, there's an estimate from Kyle's MAB Paints. There's been some safety issues regarding the courthouse steps. There seem to be slick once they've been epoxied or coated. And there's some tread, aluminum tread that is being requested to install. It's about 500 feet and 9 inches wide, and the total amount's $46,800. I know that, the question is how many people use the steps. Not a lot, but I know courthouse staff use the steps, and definitely we've had some safety issues, and our maintenance director wanted to speak to that. I'm sure he could.
Good evening, guys. The courthouse steps had treads on them in the past. They were completely deteriorated and wore out. So were the steps. So we refurbished the steps and put a new coating on them that looks nice, and it is a garage floor.
Yeah.
It's really not real slippy unless, you got some, fancier shoes or just a little bit of moisture or something. So it does seem to be a little slick, but to make them perfectly safe, the treads would do that for us and put them back into service like they should be. The original treads were only 3 inches. These are 9 inches wide. So it's going to make it a lot safer than what it was in the past.
I know some of the complaints that I've heard about this cost and even redoing those treads is the fact that nobody's even supposed to be walking on them, because you can't actually walk up those steps and walk into the courthouse. You have to go into the basement. So that's part of the struggle. And I don't know how much we spent actually redoing those steps. I don't know if that was $50,000 or $100,000 to do that. I think part of it had to do with trying to protect the steps go over top on the south side, part of the building, but I don't know if they do on the north side as well, or if that was just done just to try and beautify the outside of the courthouse. I'm not sure whether it was beauty or utility for that.
It was both.
Okay.
Mainly. They would have either had to been completely tore out, a new concrete put in, but we could fill them. It doesn't look the best, so the coating over top of them would just made it all look nicer.
Okay.
And come together.
So you might have done that in order to save higher maintenance costs later.
Lots higher cost later to replace the steps.
Yep.
Is there no possibility of like an adhesive product, the adhesive grip type stickers, you know what I'm saying, that go on a step like that versus aluminum?
It probably wouldn't last for the longevity of it. These would last positively for 10s, 20s of years.
Okay.
These treads actually are on the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty on the stairs there. So
You actually got to be federally passed those for the steps. You also got to remember all the people, the proms, all that. They take pictures.
Even though they're not maybe supposed to be up there, they do. So.
Really?
Yeah.
We had one person fall on election day and one almost fell.
Those are
It's like a safe.
those are like screwed in, the
Yes.
plates and they screw them in. Okay.
Yes.
And I can vouch for that paper stuff too, if you stick it to it. I had some wooden steps at a rental property and I did that going up, and within 2 weeks they were off, and I had to buy these aluminums and screw them into it to install them. So yeah, I can agree. And it was expensive.
And I know,
not that.
I know this is a lot of money, but this is more or less a custom job. The manufacturer will make these treads to the right length to fit in between our handrails and a wall, so it's really a custom job. It's really going to make it where it'll be there for a long, long time.
I just saw this and I haven't had a chance to really look at it and do the math. I don't have my calculator with me. Shows a quantity of 1,248. What is that? 1,248 what?
I'd say feet.
Yeah, that's.
And it's $29.50 per foot. $28.50 per foot. Jeez. $30 a foot though.
It's extruded aluminum with gravel inside of the treads for traction. And the company is in Ohio that makes them, so it is a American-made product, so we could really expect quality.
Are the judges currently using the north side to go up in?
No, because we're just afraid of someone slipping and falling.
Okay. But your plan is to open that back up?
Yes, sir.
South side's still gonna stay shut?
That's up to the commissioners and the board, really. I mean, if they wanted it open, there'd be no reason why it couldn't be.
I think that'll go back to the judges though, because I think for security purposes, I thought that's why it's the way it is.
That'd be Mr. Glenfield's question.
Yeah.
He was the question at the time.
It's really up to the commissioners on whether the doors are open or not. It's their jurisdiction. The judges could theoretically order that they stay closed, but I was actually commissioner when we closed that building. And
Thank you for admitting that. You're the guy. All right.
I'm not happy about it either, believe me, because I have to walk around 5 times a day.
That's right, you do. You got
Yes. But no, the commissioners have the jurisdiction over that building. They have the jurisdiction on whether the doors remain open or closed. The judges could theoretically mandate that they remain closed, but that never happened. The whole issue is, their issue is going to be security. They don't want people bringing guns into the courthouse, coming indoors and having to have security on the first floor and in the basement.
Yep.
Which means more manpower, which means more machines, et cetera.
Right. Yep. I get it.
It's too bad that it requires that, because we could probably open the south side up during this elevator debacle and have a couple of little bit, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah. You know, when we did it, we were one of the, I wouldn't say the first, but probably the first 20% of courthouses to have security. Now you travel around, almost every single courthouse has it, to where you go in one, even the small counties. Blackford was one of the last ones, but even they have it now where you have to go all the way around the block to a certain door, go in that door, and then go up the steps to the court. So it's pretty much everywhere now.
I was down to the State House though in February, and yes, they make you come in that door, but then people go out different doors.
Yeah.
So yeah. And
we can't currently do that at our courthouse, but
right.
If you have a keypad, if you're a prosecutor or a judge, I think you can, but no one else can.
Is it possible we could put security on that first floor with a wand to open those south doors and during the time that the elevator's down? Is that a possibility?
I know, in talking to Mr. Middlesworth, it's his goal to get that open, and he's brainstormed on all kinds of ideas on ways to do that. He's picked my brain because I'm obviously at the courthouse all the time.
I think if you look at it, if you did open that south side, but you gotta have them treads.
Yeah, what's the lead time on the treads?
About 9 weeks.
So we're still talking about.
Right. But you are right, it'd be easier for them to go up these stairs because they're not near as steep, especially from the basement to the first floor. And that's pretty steep when
it is.
You're inside.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
And it probably help more people to do that while the elevator's down. And we do have another metal detector in the basement.
Currently, we have 3 extra ones that's not being used at this time.
That might take some congestion out of that basement entrance too. With referee court.
Well, especially to have the court down there.
The referee court right there.
Yes.
So maybe this is something we consider.
We get the trail right.
Mike, is that lead time for the steps the treads to arrive or for the installation?
That was the whole lead time to have them made, installed, was about 9 weeks.
So I mean, you might save some time if they start on the south end steps.
Yes.
Sure. Work towards that and then move to the north side.
I just know that they talk about how congested it is down in the basement with referee court going on certain days, and everybody's coming through that metal detector. It's really a narrow. Maybe this will allow us to think outside the box and start using
It's
this.
not just referee court, juvenile court across the line.
Yeah,
It's a bottleneck there.
It's a big problem. I guess we can talk about that later.
The other request that you've got on here
Yeah.
is Salem Bank.
Yeah, the other request is the Salem Bank sprinkler system. Mike, I might need you. In the amount of $115,809. After the maintenance guys have performed some work in there, and we're trying to get occupancy, we had considered that we was grandfathered in, and when the fire marshal inspected due to the square footage, we're not grandfathered in. And so this is a request to sprinkle the first and second floor of the Salem Bank building. Oh, if you have anything else to add?
No. I did reach out to a couple of different companies for bids. We've had, at this time, only received one back. So, and I didn't think it was too bad of a quote, but I should have another one here within just a week or so from another major company that actually Current's the one that put it in the basement. We're waiting on their bid.
So if I add up these amounts plus the 46,008 on the last page, then 321, 385.88
Correct.
is the total that I have. So is that your actual request?
That would be the actual request.
Okay.
Yeah, 321, 385.88. And again, we wouldn't be here. I mean, all this stuff obviously is safety, and it's for all of our buildings.
Well, this makes sense to me. I mean, we're certainly gonna have to act on the brake replacement. I mean, we have to make it look, you can't order until we make some action on that, right? So we're gonna have to act on that.
Where, did you already order them?
Oh, yes, they're ordered.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, yeah, they are ordered to be made.
Yeah.
It was something that we pretty much had to do. The elevator companies did look at our elevator courthouse, the functions of it, and the electrics. And it's not a bad elevator. They said it's perfectly worth putting brakes on it and using it for a long while.
That's 2 sets of brakes.
Yes. This is 2 sets of brakes. Would be a set to put on, and then a spare set. Because the only problem with that elevator, even in the past, before I came here, was the brakes on the elevator.
So what is lifespan on those? Typically 20 years, 10 years?
I said like 15 or something.
That was 20, they put them ones on in 2006. The last set.
Back to your original comment about the ADA compliance and making provisions, what does that look like? Are we having to move courtrooms at times, or could we potentially?
Yeah, so the judges are utilizing the lower courts for different things. And then also if, when they do jury selection, I think there's an added note on the paper, I'm not sure what it says, if you can't climb stairs or whatever that language is. And so they've made some provisions there. And then if somebody comes into the courthouse and has issues, they're supposed to call, and we'll make concessions, or the people come down, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we're accommodating. And we really don't have a choice. I mean,
Right. I'm just, does that slow our dockets down? I mean, we got a referee court in place to speed things up, and now this happens, and then we're gonna be looking at data on referee courts. Are they doing their job? And this is being slowed down because of an elevator, and just trying to think through this whole process here. I mean,
no, that's a great question. I think that'd be more.
No, that's not, what's happening is, remember, the referee court's part-time. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yeah.
Superior Court 3 has their criminal hearings on Monday, so they're utilizing that court for their Monday hearings. It's vacant Monday and Tuesday. So now the other courts are using it on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
If that helps answer your question.
Trials are still going on upstairs in our courtrooms then?
I'm sorry?
The trials are still going on upstairs in the courtroom?
The files?
Trials.
Trials. They did I know Spirit 3 did do a trial last week, and they got through it okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what else we could do. We offered up this room. We'll accommodate however we can.
The other thing, though, that we're not talking about is actually the health of this, you know? I mean, this is healthy. People, you know, rather than having to do a Stairmaster, you get your steps in, as opposed to utilizing that elevator.
Mr. President, I can attest. So we brought a class over for a mock trial, and 3 times I had to go from the bottom to the very top. I wasn't feeling good about myself after.
All right. I was trying to bring a little love.
You did it long enough.
Yeah, 2 more trips, I would have been feeling really good.
No pain, no gain.
Maybe a dumb question, but I'm envisioning that these brakes are made out of metal of some sort.
They're the electronic solenoid control, so they're electric, so the solenoid would activate the brake as would be the function of it.
It's a lot more involved than, I was just saying like a local fabricator that could, if they could take the brake, do we have a local fabricator?
Right. No, it's just not a pad that gets squeezed. It's pretty
A little more involved than that.
It's not like Meineke.
Is that like Meineke?
No.
Okay.
I would assume there's a huge amount of liability.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they're in France. We can't get to them.
So while we're at it, cables, all that stuff.
Everything else looked fine, yes.
I have volunteered to fly to pick them up if we have to. Sure, everybody else has to. All right. The chair would entertain a motion then regarding these items as listed for a total of $321,385.88.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cudell.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brinkle.
That figure right, 321.
Yeah, 320.
Anyone else from the council have any questions or comment? Anybody from the public? Questions or comments? Yes, sir. You can come up to the microphone, please. That way, anybody who's online and anybody who watches it later will have the advantage of hearing exactly who you are and where you're from and what your question is or comment.
Hello, I'm Ryan Howell. My address is 2909 South Branson Street in Marion, Indiana. $1 million for the elevators, what they were talking about. I know you said 321,000 for the parts.
We actually broke it down. That elevator parts are $41,976.88. So it's not $1 million request for the elevator.
Oh, okay.
It's $41,976, and then there's a county here in this building. There's a fire alarm control panel that needs fixed, and that's $116,800. The Salem Bank building, kind of catty corner. It actually needs a water system, sprinkler system, kind of like we got sprinkler heads here, and it's got to be done over there. That's $115,809, and then also $46,800 is for the courthouse steps to put aluminum treads on it. And so the total request is actually $321,385.88. It's not $1 million.
Oh, okay. Well, just about elevators. I know early this building. I think they wanted to spend earlier this year, or last year, $650,000, if I'm not mistaken, just to repair elevators.
Wow, I don't remember that number.
I don't know. This is what was brought up here. I spoke on that too.
Okay.
But anyway, it's. I know I got a time limit, so maybe this is what we need to be teaching kids in school, how to, fix elevators, career center. And maybe is there any way we can incentivize these manufacturers from France to come here and just make the elevators? Because someone's making a killing off of this. I don't know if it's called a patent or what,
It's almost more like a monopoly. There's only so many people that make them.
Yes,
but,
and someone's pretty smart, and they're living the high life or something.
Yes.
And then, is there any way we can incentivize these manufacturers to come here to Marion, or Grant County, or Indiana, or the country, and just make this cheaper. Because we were talking about salaries for all these government positions earlier, and so, $321,000. I mean, how much easier would that be to pay these guys to do a better job, a more effective job? And
I agree, and we have a very reasonable cost of living here in Grant County.
I know it's easier said than done. And, I thought a lot of things are like really expensive, and I cannot believe how expensive all these things are. So
They are.
I mean, if you go to do it in the private sector, it seems like you're not working with anywhere near these numbers. But when you have no offense. I mean, I know you guys do a great job, and thanks for all you do. But when you have government, it just jacks the price up 10 times higher. And I'm just trying to get to the bottom and figure that out. Maybe a representative somewhere will listen to me on YouTube and figure out how to make these, get rid of these, make it more competitive.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
You're right.
And I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. We appreciate your comments.
You guys have a good one.
All right, you too.
So commissioners, next time you're on the phone with France, ask them,
Yeah.
they want to come.
All right, assuming that was all of the public comments, all in favor of approving this 321, 385, 88, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All three commissioners. This is the first time I think I've seen all three commissioners at a council meeting since I've been here. Thank you all for coming. Next on our agenda, Grant County Probation, Melissa Stephenson, but I believe it's Mike Small. I believe Melissa was going to be online, but she may not be.
I see her name up there.
Okay.
She delegated.
She did. All told, I think it was. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. We're asking to be able to fill a vacant probation officer position that's located in the Certified Court Program, which deals with our drug and alcohol clients. Melissa wrote a pretty detailed letter explaining what the position does and outlines it pretty well. So I'd be willing to try to answer any questions you might have.
Probably, I've got a question just regarding this. All cases above a level 6 felony must have the pre-sentence investigation report, the PSI report, 3 to 6 hours to fill out that report.
Yeah, it takes, that's including the interview time with the client. It takes into effect trying to set up that interview. It takes into account the interview itself. A lot of times, the majority of the time for the PSI is spent in their criminal record, because for that, PSI has a detailed history of the criminal record. And so if you get someone who has, maybe 10, 15 arrests or different cause numbers, we have to have an entry, have a disposition, have all the dates. Sometimes those are readily available. We have to search to get those. And then it's probably longer.
The IRAS.
Then you have to do the IRAS, which is part of the interview. And then typing the report itself. So actually, if my numbers would be included in that number would be much higher because I cannot type stuff.
So if somebody last year commits a level 5 felony, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever, and a PSI was ordered last year and they reoffend a year later, is a new PSI ordered, or do you take what was already done?
The court can ask that the last PSI be updated if it's noted in the guilty plea. Then they can ask that it just be updated, and so that criminal history would already be there. So once we get those in there, then they stay there, and the officer just can build upon that. And so, yes, the time goes down, but that's
Not going to happen often.
It does, more than you might think, but a lot of it comes into we're fairly young group now, probably less than half of our department now is less than 5 years. 5 years ago, we were probably the other direction. We were pretty top heavy. And so it takes a while to get used to writing a PSI and getting everything in there and knowing what each judge wants to be in there. Because you're trying to give a good account for the client, for the defense counsel, and for the judge to
be able to make a good decision, so.
And they're by statute, they're mandatory for level 5 felonies and up. Occasionally, the judges or prosecutor will want one for a level 6 felony. The level 5 felonies they have to be there. And there are guidance to help the court in sentencing. It's basically providing the court background information, like Mike said, criminal information, but there's also a lot of personal information, identifying information. And then you heard me mention IRAS. Well, that's a risk assessment tool, and it determines how likely the person is to be able to reoffend based on 7 different criteria. And the goal, as we're always talking about reducing recidivism, is to help the defendant in these areas. In other words, maybe improve education, improve substance abuse, improve criminal thinking. Some of these areas, if they can go from high risk to moderate risk to low risk, they become less likely to reoffend. So it's a very important tool that is used, and I use it all the time when I'm doing sentencing hearings, just to try to help go back.
And a lot of people know that was.
I don't know who that is.
Henry.
Yeah.
So it is a very substantial time commitment that is taken. I mean, it takes quite a bit of time just to go through one, frankly.
Do you know what effective date this request is for?
As soon as possible.
So the vacancy's there now?
It will be by Friday.
Okay.
Friday is the officer's last day. They're leaving for medical purposes, and so we still have a current vacant position that was approved to be filled. It's still open. We're still interviewing for that. We did fill the juvenile position that was granted to be filled, and that person will be starting next Monday.
So it's an immediate need, basically, end of the week at least.
It would, yes. I know with budget, you're talking about budget items coming up. If you guys have heard, but the 2027 budget is out for PO salary schedule, and there were no increases for that, so there won't be any increases coming for our department. So
Maybe a first.
This will be the second year in a row.
Second year in a row. Last year was that way, I think, too. Yeah. The only increases were bumping up a year.
Just the years of experience would be the only increases. Yes, that's correct.
Anyone else has any questions, the chair would entertain a motion regarding this request.
I would move for approval of the request upon the effective date of the vacancy.
Thank you, Mr. McWhirter.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lemming. Anybody from the council have any other questions or comments? Hearing none, anything from the public regarding this? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda is Gas City Library appointment, and that we've gotten a paper, and it's for Tracy Speakman, if I'm pronouncing it right. So she was recommended. As you know, these library appointments are usually difficult to fill at times. Tracy would be a new appointment for the library board.
Mr. Kitts, does the paperwork show what the term is?
I believe it's a 4-year term. I don't have it right in front of me.
I didn't know if the paper you had might have shown that or not. The letter didn't show it.
Right.
And Mrs. Speakman is an English and literature teacher, so I think she's going to be just fine in this position.
Very good. English and literature. Yeah.
Stacy, you don't have that date.
They sent a blank form,
No date on it?
no date on it.
It's not there. So it's either a 2-year or 4-year term.
Yeah, usually there are 4, but it'd be nice to know for sure what date she's on. I would move for approval, and I guess with the term being whatever is required to that position.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McWhirter.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Anything from the public? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is old business, kind of a jail discussion. I had a couple of the board members that were, council members that were wanting to maybe kick this around about the jail. I know it started out as a project to be downtown as a possible pod, and then it moved in maybe September, October of last year to possibly going to Garthwaite Road. We didn't get the absolute final numbers on it, but I thought now that I've heard BW might, before they wanted $500,000 in order to hone in what the numbers would be. But now I don't know if they're going to do that for free or for nothing. One of the commissioners could enlighten me if that is the case or not the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I can speak to them. I'll give you a quick update. Good evening again. The commissioner's been working with VW for some time, really pre myself with VW. I received today from Dustin, made him aware that all the funds have been expended up until this point as far as the ARPA funds that were allocated for the scoping agreement. It says, I understand the current scoping agreement and no more funds are available. We are still operating within the existing agreement and have no additional cost that will need to be paid for. In terms of where we are over the last few months, we've been working forward a formal GMP on option 3. This was discussed as the next step needed from the jail committee. We should have the GMP finalized by next Friday. And so essentially that means that this whole week, I think they've been bidding out option 3. And so we should have hard numbers on option 3. And I believe in our June commissioners meeting they'll be able to make a presentation, but at this point, we don't know if that's the first or second meeting. That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
You just see, it seems like we continue to be delayed and set back and pushed back and when was it? I don't know who was on the council. When was it first mentioned, Chuck? Or Shane, do you remember on the turn the D home into females to go over there? How long ago was that? 17.
It's been a while.
It's almost 9 years ago. We've basically been discussing what we're going to be doing about our jail situation.
I do have some other information if you want. Right, minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not here to interject my opinion. I'm here to just present where I've been working on. I sat on the council through, at one point, I believe we actually had committed dollars to a dual facility, being juveniles and females at the time. And then COVID happened and some other things happened. So I've been working on an actual cost summary. This is just, again, my opinion here is to maintain 5 employees on duty at all time in a 24/7 hour operation. And that's with each employee working a 38-hour week. Technically, you need 23 employees. Currently in the detention center budget, there's 24 employees. And so I went ahead and made a spreadsheet, and you can feel free to pick this apart all you want. I included the health insurance piece, the PERF, the FICA, and the life insurance, and got a grand total of the salary and benefits at $1,810,730. If you look down at the operational budget, if you see the items in blue, those are the items that I actually have a hard cost on. The sheriff did get a medical contract. Option 1 on the medical contract was $180,000. $9,360.58. Option 2 on the medical was $404,563.58. I believe, if you recall, and again, this is a sheriff's question, but currently, like in our current jail, I believe the jailers passed the medication. And so I think that's option 1. Option 2 is when we actually hire a company to, pass the meds. So I believe that's the difference, and I haven't analyzed it fully, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to the sheriff. And I also received from the sheriff the food contract that'd be required to operate the detention center, and that's the $330,000 a year. The other numbers are just numbers that I have included, and so feel free to pick it apart. I think it's good information to have. The salary and benefits, I believe that's a hard number of the cost. I think that's actual.
This is assuming how many inmates?
This is the 92 or 96.
It's maxed out.
Yes, maxed.
So, these numbers would basically go back to what Mr. Lemingan said. It's cheaper to ship them out than to house them in our county if that's, what it costs to do that.
If it's strictly a dollar and cents thing we're looking at, we got the best option going right now.
That's all.
As long as it holds that way.
Yeah. So, if we're strictly looking at dollars and cents, what we're doing now is probably the best bang for our buck. If that's all we're looking at.
Right? Dollars and cents is part of it. I think it's a big part of it. I think it's all of it.
It's strictly dollars and cents, which it's not.
There's programming, there's treatment, that I think we have to consider as well. But as we continue to kick this, the problem still continues to be there. And I'm to the point that I'm ready for action. I want help. I want treatment. I want programming. I want us to do something right now. Because there's a lot of people that's needing the help, and we continue to deny that help by pushing this down the road. So
I guess we go back to when it comes to dollars, the females and the juveniles always made the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume that it's probably still accurate today. I thought you should have that, and that's all I have.
Okay.
I appreciate the sheet, Mr. Middlesworth, of putting this in front of us, and have no reason to not think that it's true, right? Some others can look at it, but
Like I say, the numbers in black and down the operational budget, they're still estimates of mine. So that'd be more from the sheriff on actual. But again, the blue numbers are actual.
It's just so difficult for me because we just don't have hard numbers on rehabilitation. What's that mean? How do we rehab? Do we do that ourselves? Do we hire it out? Where do we do that?
The sheriff is starting that new program in the jail. And
in this existing jail?
Mm-hmm. That is going to begin working with individuals.
I'm sure that's going to be limited based on the staff.
It could be.
It's just so difficult to move forward with anything when you just don't have the numbers. This is the first time I've seen that. That's a hard number there. I would consider that to be hard numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking rehab, you're talking all this other stuff, we just don't have any numbers on that.
Can I come off a little insight?
Sure.
You have to remember the people that you're housing in your jail. You have a couple different groups of people. You have people who can't bond out and are awaiting trial or awaiting a plea agreement. That's a group of people. You also have a group of people who are serving level 6 sentences or probation violations on level 6s and down. Everyone else, after they plead or trial, they theoretically should go on to the Department of Corrections. So when you're talking about treatment, you're generally focusing on these level 6 people who are serving sentences almost always because they violated probation 1, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever. And generally that's because of drug use.
Yeah.
So that's the people, when you're generally talking about treatment, that's who you're talking about. They're going to be lower risk individuals who basically have a substance abuse problem. And for whatever reason, the treatment on the outside is not working. It appears the Department of Corrections is an excellent example. They have their inpatient treatment. And when those people come back, they come back to our reentry court program, they tend to do better because it's basically that's all they're doing. They have nothing else, no outside influence. And so it tends to stick. And it's not perfect, obviously. There are problems. So the theory is that if you're offering treatment inside, you can have someone up to a year. The max sentence is 2.5 years. Normally it's probably going to be a 2-year sentence. Divide that by 2 because you get credit time. That means you could have someone for up to a year. So whether probation, they offer, community corrections, they offer some programming through their probation officers, and then Radiant Health can also come in and offer treatment inside the jail. They should be doing it generally to low-risk people. Now, you also have to factor in that, and you guys approved this, which I think is going to be fantastic. Greg was just at community corrections meeting yesterday with myself, and this was discussed. You're going to have these people who are awaiting sentencing or awaiting trial. There's going to be a group of people who can be put on home detention. Again, going to be lower risk people, probably people who've had multiple violations and they just can't make the higher bond. These people now have the opportunity to not sit in the jail and have the opportunity to be put on home detention where the county is paying for that home detention. But ideally, they should be, at least I would be advising my clients, let's get ourselves into treatment, let's get help. Because if you're doing it voluntarily, you're showing to the court, to the prosecutor, you're serious about helping yourself. And when a person is actually committed and serious about it, they tend to succeed far better than someone who's just doing it because the court orders them to do it. So ultimately, that program should help reduce the number that you have in the jail by at least 30. So always factor in when you're talking about treatment what your focuses are. Everyone who is awaiting trial, and the sheriff and I, we're just going to have to disagree on this. He calls everyone criminals. The people who are awaiting trial are presumed innocent by the Constitution of the United States and by the Constitution of the state of Indiana. So when we're calling them criminals, it's almost like law enforcement is prejudging them as well. They're all guilty anyway because they're criminals, and that's not right. They're awaiting trial. You would be surprised at the number of people who actually go to trial and win and are found not guilty. I mean, it's almost alarming the number that's happening. So to me, I would keep the focus on our population, who we have in the jail, and what our goals are when you're trying to make these difficult decisions. I hope that gives some insight. I deal with it every day. I know you guys don't. And hopefully that helps provide a little insight on what actually you should be looking at, focusing on, et cetera. I know, Greg, you see it. You're in there.
I've reached out to the Wabash jail and how they run their program. It's one lady. They pay her X amount of dollars. She has all volunteers from the churches. They run it in 5 different jails, I believe. And she is probably one of the best ones in the whole state.
Treatment program?
Yep, and they do 12 at a time. 12 to 14 at a time.
Talking inmates?
Yep, 18 weeks. And that's how she runs it. She picks them. She gets the low ones, like Dave said. So to make sure, the ones that ain't really bad off, you can get them before they get real bad.
So she's going into the jail and taking groups?
Yeah, she's in the jail. She runs it in the jail. Sheriff lets her run it all. She picks her own jailers. She runs it all.
If we were to implement something like that here, where would we be at in this?
Well, therein lies the issue, an issue, I should say, not the issue. What happens in our jail, they used to run a program called MRT, Moral Recognition Therapy, I think is what it stands for. It's a 12-week program where at the time people from Radiant Health came in and worked on helping people alter their thinking, their criminal thinking, which was a great program. It's so good that when people graduate, the judges will actually give them a time cut if they're serving a sentence on a level 6 felony or below in our jail. It really helps reduce crime, and it gives that person an opportunity to see another way, another light, by having some alternative thinking. But the problem in the jail is you have maybe one place where they can do that program. And if you have, Greg, I'm sure you know this, but some people, they have no mix orders. So some people can't get these programs because there's someone in the program they can't be in contact with. So an individual might not be able to get that program opportunity. If you had separate areas, pods, whatever you want to call them, where more than one program can be administered, then that can help solve that problem.
Well, she said that her people only got to be separated. They're in pods too.
Yeah.
Her people's just separated from the rest. You know what I'm saying? So she said basically all my people got to do is be separated.
And that's the Department of Corrections model. What they have is.
And that's what she took it from. She took some of that and added some
It's
to it.
basically a dormitory style treatment facility where it's pretty much almost around the clock. You know, the group kind of monitors themselves and they'll have their own training inside. And the results, at least the reentry court statistics that Grant County has, shows that's been pretty successful when people come back from that program. So I think what Chuck is saying, the Wabash is trying to model after that and probably is having some success with it.
Well, there's 4 other jails doing the same thing too. And they're
just
having
following the
success.
Department of Corrections model.
So what do we do to have the space to do something like that? What's
The D-home.
Well, yeah, the D-home certainly has the space to do it the way it's set up now. You could take certain groups, obviously you have males and females can't be mixed, but because of the way it's structured pod-wise, you could have that type of dormitory style treatment that can be administered in each of those pods. There's 4 of them, I believe.
6.
No, there's 6 of them.
6 in ours.
Okay, 6. You'd think I would know that, but
It's been a while.
Yeah.
it's been a while.
So would you say part of this MRT program then would come back?
Well, MRT is different than what I just went through as far as the program that Chuck was talking about. Chuck was talking about an actual drug and alcohol treatment. MRT is a criminal thinking program to help people maybe see how some of the decisions they make are erroneous. You know, the moral recognition part of it. That can be tied to substance abuse, but not necessarily tied to substance abuse. I think what Chuck's talking about is actual substance abuse treatment program.
Well, no, and what they actually do is make sure if they need GEDs or if they figure out what those strengths are. So they play to those strengths to try to find them a job, place them once they get out of there, give them a living, a job and everything.
So yesterday we hosted Appeals on Wheels at the high school. And one of the judges, one of the 3 judges, it was mentioned in her bio that she oversaw what was called a transformation court. It said transformation and in parentheses, mental health court. I looked up, tried to find anything on transformation courts, and I couldn't find anything.
It's probably like reentry court.
Probably like what?
Reentry. We have a reentry court here. Reentry court is designed to help individuals who come back from the Department of Corrections get back on their feet. You know, if someone's been in prison 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you know, they might need some guidance. Reentry court, and I know this because I was a public defender in there for 15 years. Reentry court will provide, if there's treatment needs, it will hook them up with treatment so they can get the treatment they need. If they will help them find employment, can help them find suitable housing. So it's designed to help people get back on their feet. It's an exceptional program. And the criminal thinking component of that is also addressed. Judge Todd, if you ever sat in there and watched, he spends 3 to 5 minutes trying to help rationalize with people coming back from prison. It's pretty amazing to watch the mental transformation that people go through. And it's a tool, again, help designed to reduce crime, i.e. recidivism.
When I read transformation, my first thought was reentry court. But then what got me is in the parentheses and it said mental health court.
Right.
Which then piqued my interest. Is there a family court, a reentry court, a drug court program that deals with mental health? Because we know that's part of the issue here in Grant County as well.
We have a separate mental health court now.
Okay.
It just was reported yesterday. I think Judge Todd said he's up to 8 or 10 individuals in that. It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, mental health, that's for sure.
He's going to have his first graduate.
Yes, going to have the first graduate.
I think, is it Friday or a week from Friday? Something like that.
I don't know if it was this Friday. It's coming up soon.
Right, yes.
So we do have a mental health court here in Grant County now.
Not a high volume.
It's not like drug court where you might have 70 participants. I think.
Well, I think the it's going to be different of who is participating in those 2 programs, but.
The goal there is more, and again, I was involved in the formation of that program too. The goal is basically one of the goals, probably the most important, is to make sure people are med compliant. In other words, taking the medication that they're prescribed that they need to do. If they do that, theoretically, they should be much better off.
I guess where I'm coming from is we have a recognized issue. We have programming and some programming in place, potentially could be expanded. And we have facility space that we could utilize. I don't know why I don't know why this isn't happening already.
I think it's because we don't have any hard numbers yet. This is the first hard number I've seen from Mr. Middlesworth. And it's so difficult. So here's my struggle. I haven't made my mind up either way what's the best option. I'm still trying to learn. But if we're going to spend $2.6 million potentially to staff the juvenile center, is it better to take that money and put it towards payment on a new facility? I don't know. That's just a fraction of it, right? 2.6? That's not all of it.
And I spent $2.1 million on a pod that you throw in the trash. You want to build it at Garthwaite.
And so then you got two full facilities, and we're asking the sheriff to staff another facility. There's just a lot of.
I mean, I appreciate Mr. Middlesworth going through this and giving us these numbers that we see this, but at the same time, I'm going to say we can't spend $2 million on people over there that aren't fixing the problem. And so I guess I'm looking more to challenge Grant County to be innovative in the area of the criminal justice system, to say we've got to do something different here. And I think that facility over there can't be a DOC facility. I think it's got to be something different. And that way you don't have to have these numbers of people that are over there. And it's more like housing in a different way. And it may even be something that our county isn't operating. So maybe somebody else has to operate it.
And see, all that has to weigh in to the decision that we're going to have to face. We're going to be making.
It can, but at the same time, where I'm at, Garthwaite Road, $2 million a year out of our operating budget, I'm an absolute no on that.
Well, we don't have that number yet.
Yeah, I'm a no. Garthwaite Road, I'm a no.
So once we see these hard numbers, it'll be so much clearer, I think, for all of us.
And if it costs $2 million to put just to staff that over there, it makes more sense to ship them out of county. That's why I'm saying we've got to figure out something better and something different over there than this. Because I don't think this would be the answer either. It'd be back to what Mr. Lemming had said. It's cheaper to house them out of county, but I don't think that's good either. Just in our discussion yesterday, in our community corrections meeting, they were like, we need our prisoners here. Because I was touching on, we don't even talk about the cost of, transporting all of these people, the amount of time people spend, not to mention the risk to our employees, the risk to the inmates and things like that, traveling out of town. I know we're doing that now. And that's where part of this free trial home detention program, hopefully we can get 30 people back and living at home. And that way also, then we're not paying their medical coverage because they're on home detention. They're not in our jail. So at the end of the day, we really want to get more people out of our jail so that we're not paying all of their medical costs too, because that is a big unknown, because a lot of those people that are on drugs and things, obviously they're not healthy. They're not thinking about that. So it's a big issue, and I think it's not only a challenge for our community, it's a challenge for every community.
Everybody's facing the same thing.
But I don't think the answer is building a jail that ends up costing $120 million on Garthwaite Road. And that doesn't solve anything, because it's the people that are going to make the difference. It's everybody working together to resolve this issue is what's going to make that difference.
But I think once we start getting some more hard numbers, that this will all become so much more clear, I would hope, right?
I don't know when we're going to get the hard numbers.
That's what I'm saying. We can't really, we can have these discussions, but we can't really move forward until we have some solid numbers. As far as transporting inmates out of county, we're still going to be taking to the DOC. So that's not going to stop. We're still going to have some liability. It'll be less, obviously. But we assume liability whenever we come to work. So
do we take them to DOC, or does DOC come?
No, we take them.
We take them?
Yeah. We'll take them.
I can also share that as someone who deals with people who are in Tipton and Fulton, I don't want to point any fingers, but there have been many times where they've not been brought to the county, so they're sitting an extra week. So you're spending an extra $300 because they haven't been brought in a timely manner. And it's very difficult to communicate with someone who's in those counties. Here, you know, we can walk across the street. We can't, as defense attorneys go, just can't pick up and go to Tipton or go to Rochester and visit with them, talk with them. So there's some expediency of resolving cases when people are here versus elsewhere. So I guess what I'm saying is it's going to take longer on average to resolve a case of someone in Tipton or Fulton County than it's going to of someone who's in Grant County.
That makes perfect sense. We just got to figure out how to make that work in Grant County.
I think we have the numbers, don't we, on the Garthwaite Road, $5 million a year is what our payment is going to be. Isn't that the presentation that we heard from BW?
I didn't think they had any numbers for Garthwaite. Maybe they do.
Yeah, they did.
It was that $74 million number, which was a ballpark number.
They had preliminary numbers.
So we don't have any hard numbers.
They just weren't bid numbers.
We should have them by the 1st of June, and they're being bid out this week, and from what I gather, the numbers kind of pretty good.
And I'm not pushing blame on you, Mr. Middlesworth, at all. You say we should be June. I mean, we've been asking for numbers now for a long time, and we still aren't. And what happens when June comes and we're in July and we say we should have it in August? Then August comes and then, well, we should have it in September. And in the meantime, we continue to kick down the road treatment. We have to address treatment. That has to be on the forefront of what we are looking at doing. It has to be.
I might suggest, and Greg knows this because he sits in the community corrections meeting, we might very well have the best community corrections and probation department in the state of Indiana. A lot of talented, knowledgeable people on there, and you've got 4 judges, 2 of them who have been around a long time. Judge Spitzer runs drug court, Judge Todd runs reentry court. They know this probably better than almost any judge in the state of Indiana. It might be something where you ask that group of people to take a look at this and make a recommendation on what would they be willing to sentence people to, what would they like to see happen, because they're going to know what's going to solve problems, what's going to reduce crime better than anyone, because they sit there and see it every day. Maybe go back to that group and ask them to design, implement, because they did it for the pretrial home detention. Maybe that group can say, hey, you know, we can have probation do this, community corrections do this, we need radiant health to do this. Maybe it's not a DOC facility, as President Kitts has suggested. Would they be willing to sentence people to something like that? Maybe ask them to see what model they think it would look like, and then you can figure out what those costs might be from what that would be. It seems like that might answer a lot of your questions if you were willing to ask them to do that.
Well, no, I think we have a very active judiciary. We have a very experienced judiciary. You know, we've put things in place with the new magistrate to try to alleviate the jail overcrowding. We now have the pretrial home detention, which is going to alleviate the numbers. I mean, I've said it for a long time. I personally don't see the need for a brand new jail from a numbers standpoint, because I think recidivism is definitely an issue, which I think there's programs that we can address recidivism, but the increase in crime, whatever increase in crime that there is, does not support the numbers of a 460-some bed jail. It doesn't even come close. And when you look at the number of counties that have built new jails, they open up at a capacity half of what they even built the jail for to begin with. So I don't think, when you're looking at crime statistics, the crime statistics doesn't even support why our jail population is the way that it is for the last 3.5, 4 years. Our crime statistics doesn't even come close to supporting that. Prior to 4 years ago, whenever we were overcrowded in the 3 to 308. never in the 380. It just it exploded 3.5, 4 years ago. And when you look at the statistics, it does not support an increase to that magnitude. And for me, I want to rely on probation and the professionals that we have in place and the judiciary and the steps that they're taking to eliminate jail overcrowding and ultimately avoiding building a bigger jail, which I don't think that we need. And I feel like we have the facility space. And I know it's going to be a dual facility. Fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to say, every sheriff in the past had operated dual facilities and done so without any issue, right? Every sheriff prior had operated the detention center and operated the jail. So it's not new from the justice system on our end. Is it ideal? Maybe not. You can make some arguments of how it's not going to be ideal, but I think Mr. Kitts is right. I mean, to spend $5 million a year on a new jail that we may not need, or $2 million to house this, I don't think it's there either. But I still worry about, and I love your idea of being active with the judiciary and those involved. Again, let's not continue to kick this treatment can down the road. We need resolution, and we need something in place immediately.
I think community corrections would be willing to take the task on if you wanted them to, maybe trying to put something together. I mean, I'm on that board. I think it would be fantastic, kind of give you an idea of what programming might look like post-sentencing.
When is the next community corrections meeting?
I believe that
2 months.
Yeah.
Oh. So you wouldn't be able to have discussions and come back next month?
Oh, I think.
Oh, we can certainly email.
I think you could go to the judges and they could begin that immediately.
Yeah.
I know President Kitts has immersed himself in the criminal justice system, trying to learn, and I know you have a lot of knowledge with it too, Michael, also from your past experiences. So I think you could send them an email and ask them to, and I think they would do it immediately.
You know, I know we're all somewhat frustrated because we just don't have these numbers yet, but it may be a blessing that we don't, because we still have time to work through. This is stuff we just now are talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so this is going to give us some time to work through this and try to make the best decision moving forward. I mean, that's what's the most important, is to make the right decision moving forward, whatever that may be. So maybe this is okay that we're being forced to drag our feet a little bit.
We're in an interesting position. This body cannot make those decisions about how we're going to treat people, where we're going to put them. That's not our role. Our role is to fund where we feel like is a good proposal or recommendation coming to us. Keep that in mind. Our criminal justice system, all the players that deal with this, that's their role,
right,
to come up with these things we should do to help us. And when we got to fund it, now obviously we be part of the conversation, have our input and all those kind of things, but it's not our role to make that decision until it comes to funding of it. Keep that in mind.
The uniqueness of county government, right? But at what point in time does or should the fiscal body take a lead, or because I mean, if we can't afford $5 million, $6 million annual loan, why do we continue going down the path of trying to figure out how we're going to build this new jail, even though as a fiscal body we may be able to determine, well, we can afford 4.5, but we can't afford 5, or we can only afford 2, whatever it may be. Shouldn't we at some point in time take a lead, or at least say, here's our max dollars that we can afford?
Well, I think we've somewhat done that.
Yes, we have.
I think the players out there have heard us talking about, God, what can we do? What can't we do? What can we afford? What can't we not afford? They know that. But what have they come to us as a recommendation? Well, what I'm saying is they've got to do that.
Yeah.
They've got to come to us with something that works within the strengths we deal with. And then we have to say yes or no to that when it comes to funding.
I would say,
and obviously, I think we should, from take a lead standpoint, in a sense, yes, have the conversations, give them our thoughts, and those that have expertise in that area, you make sure it's known. But as a councilman, you're not going to actually recommend it to us. It's going to be maybe through some indirect stuff, but they're going to come to us with the thoughts about, hey, we need to do this, guys, to make this work in this county. Do you support it funding-wise or do you not? So we have a role. Now, the role at this table is different than what it may be out there when you're talking to people, and what do you think should happen to make it better, kind of thing.
I would say this council, especially with Mr. Kitts, as president, has done more
Yes.
to initiate
Yes.
this conversation in the last year and a half. And so I think to answer your question, we have done probably more than, it's certainly more than required.
We've gone beyond being a councilman when it comes to that.
Yes.
And the thing is, though, is if you think I've been pushing, I'm going to push harder, though. And because I think we need to be doing this sooner rather than later. Because, I mean, one of my friends that graduated, his son was one who had OD'd and was at the hospital, and now he's in treatment. I'd called David and broke up over it because I didn't think the kid was going to live. But he did. He survived. Somehow he came off of life support. Just all of a sudden the next day he came off of life support and he said, I'm hungry. I want something to eat. And for the first time he said, I need treatment. And so he is now at a treatment center in Fort Wayne. And so how many other people are out there that need that? And that's why it's something for me that I wake up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm saying, man, what else can we do? And maybe I might be pushing too hard or push across that threshold, but I really feel like at the end of the day, too, we do have some fantastic people, and Grant County has been a leader as far as our probation and community corrections and things like that. And so it's like we have some great minds. And so now it's like, all right, now let's push above that and let's push beyond that. What else can we do? And so I'm encouraged that through collaboration that we can come up with something.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
And it does. It'll take some time. And I'm certainly not a patient person, and I apologize for that.
So then before, doing whatever, I don't know where this whole business discussion is going. Before we would do anything tonight, can we meet? Does it make sense to have these additional conversations and be like, we're going to come back next month, 2 months, whatever it is, and be ready for this body to make a decision.
I don't think
on what direction we want.
I don't think that they would have a recommendation that quickly, in my opinion, because there's a lot of work. I mean, it was like the whole pretrial home detention program. Yes, we approved it, but then they had to go out and write all the policies and procedures and all of that. And so you're talking 30, 60 days to do that, David. I mean, and there was a lot of legwork. And I applaud everybody for doing that in the probation area, as well as just anybody on community corrections.
It's a lot of additional pay.
It's a lot
you're asking them to do.
Yes.
On top of what they're already doing.
I know. But at the same time, it can also drive people too, because it's like you're going to be a leader here and we're going to try something. And it can energize people as well. To say, yeah, I want to do that. And maybe that's why I wake up so early.
Well, having all those conversations are great, and expressing your viewpoints and using your expertise to make it better. But even if this body says, hey, we're going to give you $1 million to do X, that means it's going to be done if they don't do it. You know what I'm saying? So we really can't do that. We can give them the funding when it comes to us. We like it, but we can't make the program.
No, not at all. Not at all. They make the program.
They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like we should have some input in that as well. Because if they come back to us with that dollar and we can't afford it, now we're way back here again trying to figure out what direction we need to go.
Maybe I'm not getting the point right. We do have input in. That's what I say. I encourage the conversations. We've had great conversations for months now. That's important to hear. And I think now, the conversations need to happen so they hear what our thoughts are before it gets to the funding request. It's good to hear that. Well, my point is, it's not going to happen until it comes to us.
Right. That's right.
I always appreciate your knowledge and wisdom and experience. It goes a long way. And you're great to have on the council. I appreciate that, because you're always bringing it back to, the reality. And I appreciate that.
Well, I stand ready if you get into meetings and would like me to be there, I'll volunteer my time to be there. Mr. Kitts, if you're in them as well. So
I just authorize President Kitts to initiate that email, and they'll take it from there.
What we'll do is I'll try to email and just see if what we can put together, something like that. And then it would also be something where I'll certainly report back to everybody.
I still feel like a path or direction, at least from the judiciary and those involved, if treatment is the recognition. Okay, let's all rally behind how we're going to make this treatment. The policies and things aren't going to come into place right away, right? But I feel like we can get to the point that we have an idea of the direction we need to go, rally the troops around that, and take off with it and make it happen.
Hopefully I can have some update at the next meeting. Maybe we can have a meeting in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, I guess I'll say, I'm thankful at this point, Tipton and Fulton counties are willing to take some of our inmates. Because that really takes the pressure off us.
Oh, yeah.
Believe me.
You're exactly right. It does.
We're not in crisis mode. We'd all like to see changes, but
yes,
we can rest assured as long as they're willing to
You don't want to be in a position where you have to count on somebody else to take care of it, but so far it's been okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate that. And I guess we would have talked about community corrections as far as committee reports, but I think we've kind of interjected some of that already. I don't know if anybody else had any committee reports or anything. If we do, one item I don't have on here would be 9.5, and that would be opening it up to public comments. I think we always allow for some public comments at the end if anybody has anything for the good of the cause. Yes, we have one.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name's Molly Early. I live on Summerfield Drive. I'm married. I just kind of want to, from a public standpoint, if I may, and I apologize for my voice. It's been a rough 2 weeks with allergies. With this jail discussion, okay? Because I'm listening into all of it, and I think everybody's got great input here. But if I understand correctly, it's been on and off discussion for 9 years, correct? I heard that number.
Maybe longer.
Okay.
Yeah, since day one.
So for 9 years. And this body obviously doesn't make the decisions of what program they issue the funding. And I heard someone say that, we can say X amount of dollars is what we can afford. So why not let those people know what this body is willing to fund with that X amount of dollars, regardless of whether that's a new jail, a program here, the D home, say, this is the amount that this county can afford, and we will not fund beyond that. That way, at least then, from a leadership standpoint, the rest of those programs know exactly where they can go within that funding, because we all know, as in the discussions earlier under the EMS, we're all concerned about what SB1 has done to all the counties in Indiana and where the funding is coming from. So if we know moving forward in a year, in 2 years, our budgets are going to get cut, the dollar amount for that is what needs to be stated now. That way these other individuals can move forward. And I think that's something that you guys can do. Thank you.
I think that's the real challenge right there. We don't know. We just can't set a number because we don't know, based on Senate and Roll Act 1, we don't know where we stand yet, do we?
Well, not totally. She has an interesting point, no doubt about that. I don't know if I personally am ready to tell X department, hey, I'm ready to give you this many dollars. Make it work. I'm not sure. Maybe I should be. I don't think I'm in that position to do that yet. Now, if it comes to me, I'm thinking, then I'm ready to say yes or no based on the dollars where it is. But do I want to give an upfront number? That's an interesting point. I haven't thought about it that way. It is an interesting point. I'm not sure I'm prepared to do that. But if I see something I think is worthwhile, the cost that I'm willing to probably say yes or no to that amount. But to initiate it, I don't know. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about that yet, but it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point.
Yes. Mr. Duke, you have something.
Michael Duke, East Bradford Pike, Marion. Couple things. First, on the jail discussion you've been having. I hear frustration, but I also hear the yearning to provide leadership to the community in stopping kicking the can down the road and to take the bull by the horns and to provide specific leadership to bring the topic, to congel it, to deal with it, and to find a solution. You've all raised many good points. I commend you for that. But I want to shift on to a different subject. And I want to broach a matter that I think's been percolating out there in the community. I'm going to offer you some information and ask you a question that I would pray that you would individually provide feedback on. A couple of facts. Elected officials work for the citizens and the voters of the community where they were elected. Another factual reality is that private or publicly traded companies considering locating a new site may not want competitors or employees or potential sellers of property to know what locations are being considered. Private companies commonly use non-disclosure agreements to accomplish confidentiality surrounding such business tactics by clouding said transactions in secrecy. However, when public governance officials are asked to participate in NDAs, the desired confidentiality that private companies attempt to accomplish runs squarely against public access rules, which require governance entities and officials to provide transparency and sunshine on public issues. Having said that, it's a fundamental tenet in our system of governance that elected officials are answerable and accountable to the voters of the community, the citizens. It's the citizens' taxpayer dollars that pay the elected officials' salaries and expenses. Elected officials are not accountable to any corporation or developer that is attempting to structure deals outside of the sunshine of public scrutiny and visibility. Transparency is incongruous with NDAs. NDAs signed by government officials are of a great concern, I believe, to the citizens of our community. It's what I hear people talking about. NDAs run counter to the concept of transparency, public access doctrine, and open door laws. Our county citizens are interested in understanding if any of our elected officials have signed NDAs, I believe. So, gentlemen, I ask you this question and ask for your feedback individually. I ask if you can assure our community that you have not signed any NDAs since swearing your service oath when you took office, or to the contrary, to disclose any and all NDAs that you may have entered into. I would ask for your feedback, John.
I'll tell you, I haven't signed an NDA. I haven't been asked to sign one. And I wonder, though, too, if, at the beginning of the year, you have to sign conflicts of interest form. I wonder if an NDA would actually qualify as something that you would have to disclose that you've signed one. I've never thought about that. David, what do you think?
Well, generally, you guys in the position of counsel, it's normally the executive branch of government is going to see those. And, I had this discussion with Michael after the last meeting. He certainly brings up points that philosophically I think everybody agrees with. But the one exception I will point out is the open door law is there, and it governs contractual negotiations do not have to be disclosed. Open door law.
Executive session areas.
That's a protected area. It's contractual negotiations. So do NDAs fall under that? I suppose it depends on the circumstances. But the only way I would think that you as a council, maybe if a company wanted a tax abatement, they were out in the unincorporated area of the county, I think that's the only way you probably would see one. And I mean, you obviously can all answer it for yourself, but I think it would be rare for a body like this to see an NDA.
It's an interesting thought that he has.
It is,
being transparent, how would you government?
Yeah, it's an interesting question that President Kitts just asked too. I off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that, but.
It would seem to be a little bit of a conflict of interest. It would seem.
Could be that way, sure.
Because you're supposed to be serving the people.
Interesting.
And you're
It
serving.
comes down to what benefit you gain from that relationship, I guess, comes into play there.
Yeah. And you're serving on the Area Planning Commission?
On the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Board of Zoning Appeals. Have you signed one?
No, I have not. And I've not been asked either.
Right.
And even if I was asked, I would not. In fact, by the rules and the procedures of the BCA's regulations, that would be considered, I believe, an ex parte contact that would have to be viewed negatively. And I would have to immediately report that to the chair of the BCA, to the legal counsel of the BCA that Mr. Glickfield did, and to the APC director.
We've probably heard people talk in meetings and you're thinking, just tell the story and stop trying to hide it, right? We probably all have those kind of thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that in the community, the citizens are going to say, if you can't answer a straightforward question, why can't you? What needs to be done in secrecy? Now, I've laid out why it's done in the private sector.
Yeah.
But this is the public sector.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only one I thought of, David, when you brought that up, was the Walmart distribution center years ago, because it was in it unincorporated. We might put it in, and I'm thinking back to that time, like too long ago. I don't ever remember signing one, but if it happened, it may have been then. That would probably be about the only time the council would.
And I think I was commissioner then because we had to help with the road, and I don't think we were asked to sign anything either. We helped expand 600.
Yeah.
That was mostly, we worked with the city of Gas City to get that done. Now, they might have had.
I don't recall having done that either. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we did either.
Yes.
Randy Atkins. I'm going to tag on Molly a little bit. You guys are the bank. And if I want to buy a new tractor, I can go look at all the tractors in the world. But if the banker doesn't tell me how much money I can borrow, what's the point of me looking at the tractors? And to some degree, if I was the judges who are going to try to put a program together, I'd sure like to know what kind of budget that I might be able to work within. So, I don't have the experience to tell you how to do that, Jim. You're probably as close to being able to do that as anybody.
It's an interesting thought.
But I would encourage you guys to give some thought as to what kind of a budget that you would throw towards it so that it could be more real for those people who are trying to design the program.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Guaranteed they'll spend it, right?
Yeah.
But and some things are more, I'll say, more clear. I mean, you can be more exact with something than you can other things. Some things are more abstract, I guess, in nature. And this is some of that because there's judgment involved. Does this make sense? Does that not make sense? It's not quite as easy, but the thoughts got merit.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. Ed Bounds, 1526 South Thorn Street, Marion, Indiana. Two things I want you guys to hear tonight. One about me. I buried my 22-year-old niece, who also raised us like a daughter. I never will forget that day when we buried her. We had to pull my sister out of the grave with her. I want everybody to try to vision something like that. And how many other mothers or fathers who are going through that as well. About a month ago, I got a phone call where a mother needed my help. When I arrived, there was somebody from DCS. I knew the person. This little 4-year-old girl had witnessed her mother give oral sex for drugs. And I don't want to see no family split up. But this was a decision that I had to put her mother in. Either you deal with Petty Eddie or you go get help. Because I will put you on blast. Because I'm going to do it for this little child. So while we're discussing a price tag, think about the true price tag of what people are going through out here. Because, like Mr. President said, these are people. These are real people. And it may not hit your family today, but it could tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Rounds. Very true.
Ed Hartman, 2640 East 1050 South, Fairmount, Indiana. I've seen you guys talk for quite a long time on this subject of a jail. And really, it's a building. And we've got a building right across the parking lot. You're thinking about building a building out on Garthwaite Road. And many of you seem to think that you can't afford a new building out on Garthwaite Road. But it's what goes on inside the building that needs to get moving. You've spent millions of dollars messing around with that new jail concept and are now feeling like you can't afford it. I think you need to put that one to rest and just say you're not funding that. And then get people moving on what can we do with our current facilities. And don't forget, if you have other facilities to work on, there's some other big expenses coming up. And there are possible belt tightening measures. None of these things seem to be working out to make sense unless you take that one off the table where you're going to spend a huge amount of money and borrow it for 25 years. And then you're going to have a lot harder problems to deal with when you have a tighter budget and a big payment to make. You don't have a big payment you're making now. You got about $690,000 in annual debt payments. Turn that into $6 million when you add $5.2 million to it. Sounds like a lot bigger problem. It's like having a small car payment, a very small car payment, and then going out and buying a high-priced car and having a large payment. There'll be some real problems later on. So I urge you to really don't waste any more money on something you can't do that's pie in the sky, and start thinking about what do we need to do. Get this discussion put aside and keep your pressure on programs and solving the problem of having too many inmates. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Here's that'll wrap up the public discussion. We'll update. Upcoming meeting is Wednesday, June 17th, and motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brankel. Thank you, Mr. Lemming. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I don't like to do it easy.
Do it.
Good.